Looks like we made it. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome in on a Football Friday. The opener with Michigan coming up tomorrow night at the Big House, and we have made it to a Football Friday. Thanks so much for joining us. We're ready to get things underway and talk about the upcoming Michigan season, of course, the game tomorrow and what to expect, all of those sort of things. And it's exciting to be here. I'm going to give you three things that I want for the season that I thought about today. And then I'll give you a prediction for the game tomorrow with the exact number. And then same thing with the season, a season prediction. But I'm going to start with things too that I'm looking for in the opener. And as always, encourage you. You're out there. You're excited like Doug for the game tomorrow. If you have something that you would like to see as you have thought about it all year long, and then you haven't really had to, have your feet to the fire or whatever. But now you do, a day out from them kicking off things that you want to see. And somebody ask you, maybe it'll be your girlfriend or your best friend or something. I just say, what do you want to see from Michigan tomorrow? And for me, I will start with Bryce Underwood. Now, I wouldn't mind being completely wowed. There was a part of the spring game where Underwood threw the ball so much, warming up. We get to see that arm pumping the ball all over the place. And then he made attempted to make all of the throws that an NFL quarterback would make, and he didn't complete any of them, but he made a bunch of short passes. I wouldn't mind being wowed by Underwood taking the top off the defense. I wouldn't mind Michigan throwing a bomb on the first play like they did in the spring game. I wouldn't mind, Underwood connecting on some kind of, 70-yard pass at some point in the first half or whatever, just being, or, showing some kind of great escapability, awareness, and then, throwing the ball like, he has arrived. Oh, Michigan, that sort of thing. I'm not just sitting around thinking I don't want to see that. However, that's not really what I want to see. What I want to see, and I'm thinking about the entire season in mind, and I'm not a football coach, but I would like to see the snaps, the center quarterback exchange. I would like that to be clean. In the spring game, there was a fumble of the center exchange. Now, one thing, you never play a perfect game. I don't think that Michigan's going to play a perfect game, even if they won the game 60-0. I don't think it would be a perfect game. I don't think it would be a perfect game for Bryce Underwood. So, out of the following things, if there's one of these, you say, hey, okay, it was the opener, first time quarterback, all the different things. They're working together, 110,000 and all that. But, clean center exchanges is going to be one of the things that I am charting. I am watching for to see that. And it's not the most exciting thing. Oh, there's another clean center exchange. No, you just, when you see it go awry, you're like, oh, okay, well, there's the one. And, you get one. What do you call I guess you wouldn't call it a mulligan. You could fumble that one. You can also jump on it. But I would like to see a clean center exchanges. I would also like to see, and again, you can have one total of all of these. I don't want to see any delays with the quarterback getting the personnel in, getting the signals, getting the play. I don't want a lot of, tapping on the helmet, where it looks like, chaos out there, Keystone Cops or something, you got to burn a timeout. No delay of games. There were multiple delay of games in the spring game. I don't want to see any of that. That's important to me. If you can, there's so much verbiage. You got to get everyone in the huddle, in and out of the huddle, get the play call from the sideline. You have to do so many of those things. I would just like to see that, a nice smooth operation from Bryce Underwood and a company. That would be the other thing that I'm looking for. And that's not really asking a whole lot, but it is in some ways, where you might just be focused on, whatever, 5 touchdowns or something else. I don't want to see, you get one, a delay of games or having to burn a timeout or a clean center exchange. I would like just to be smooth. And I like to see everything just look nice and easy. I don't want anything to look rushed or panicked. I want everything. They can even go 3 and out. But, if you go 3 and out and everything's just going to everything that you want, not any kind of mistakes that way, it's okay. They don't have to move the ball down the field every time. They get a win, that kind of stuff, and maybe win handily. I think everybody thinks they're going to do that. So I'm taking a step back, and that is my focus number one for Underwood. If I could say it quickly, I want to see clean center exchanges, and I don't want them to burn any timeouts. I don't want any delay of games. They can have one of those, but if he can go through the entire game and do that, they get out at the other end, I'm going to feel pretty good about then week 2 of going down to Oklahoma, where it's going to be a completely different animal. And if you get 5 touchdowns and 2 delay of games and a bots, the 5 touchdowns to me, then they don't mean, that's not it doesn't mean a whole lot. Next week is going to mean a lot. If Underwood would go down and throw 5 touchdowns down against Oklahoma on the road in his first game away from Michigan Stadium. But, playing the Lobos and tearing them up, fine, do it. I'm not taking anything away from it, but it is what it is. When it comes down to being a 35-point favorite, you expect to throw a couple touchdowns and smack these guys down pretty good. So that's the best laid plans when it comes down to me, from what I'm looking for out of the quarterback position. Number 2, for me personally, I want to see one reminder of what I saw during the national championship season from Semaj Morgan. Because during Morgan's freshman year, there were a number of plays. It wasn't just the kick return in the championship game, or it wasn't just a screen that went for a touchdown. There were multiple plays, although both of those, were wow plays for me, where I thought, and I think we all think this. If you're watching this, you're probably going to nod your head. We think we know when we see something special in football. You watch football, you watch so much of it, and then you see someone and a player, and you're like, that player looks special. I said that repeatedly during the national championship season about Semaj Morgan. I didn't say it one time. I don't remember any plays that Semaj made. I remember he was in on the was he the one that they put a trick play and they had him at 5'10", throwing the ball to the backup court? I remember that, but that's bad. That wasn't something special. I just want one reminder of why I continue to back Morgan, because I think there's something special in there. I saw that flash, and it was, and I'm ready to take last year because of the quarterback play and just throw it out. So just give me that one reminder, Semaj. And, it's a nice, New Mexico, if I'm the coaching staff, and Sharon Moore mentioned Semaj Morgan as a starter, as Michigan's number 2 wide receiver after Donovan McCulley. If those guys are sitting around, I'm thinking they are going to scheme something up and say, we want to get Morgan going. We want to get that part of our offense. You pick and choose. You can only have, he doesn't have to score a touchdown, but yeah, you're going to draw something up for him. You want a player that has special capabilities. You want to be able to grease the skids or whatever you want to say for him. So that's the second thing that I want to see. Just one reminder of why I thought Semaj Morgan was special as a freshman, now in his junior season. That's what I'm looking for tomorrow night. And then the third thing that I'll be looking for in the game is that I want to see the defense overall be a punishing unit, an attacking unit, a team that flows to the ball. A shutout, fine. If they shut them out, you have to see what the circumstances are. I don't demand. I'm not sitting here demanding a shutout, but I like to see. Yeah, I would like to see it, but I would like to see all of those other things. I go back. I've had favorite openers. 95 was that was the Pigskin Classic. There was 97. Michigan's defense against Colorado, I think, entered the year as the number one team in the country. Michigan's defense, you could tell within the first 5 minutes they were flying around. You're like, wow, these guys look really good. And they were really good. I mean, they're one of the great defenses ever. Openers of, Philip Brabs kicking a game winner against Washington. You go on and on. But seeing a defense, like 97's defense, you could tell. I thought, what was the year that Michigan played Florida down in Dallas? I think 2017. And I remember thinking, this defense looks pretty fast. They look pretty good. And so those are the kind of things that I'm looking for on that side of the ball. I'm not really somebody I could say, oh, yeah, Cole Sullivan, who Sharon Moore talks a lot about, but really just as a unit, whoever's in there. Lockdown, stingy, attacking, punishing, rallying to the ball. Wouldn't mind some forced fumbles, some interceptions, some turnovers. As a unit, make you feel better when it comes down to Michigan. And so those are the three things that I want to see from BU. We all know who that is. From Semaj and from the defense. Those are the three things. That's how I see it. Take some of the feedback, and then I will get to the three things that I want to see for this season. John is making some predictions. A perfect game for Bryce, 25 of 25, 6 touchdowns, no picks, a rushing TD. He's also winning the Heisman this season. Let's go. Well, I would be someone that now I got to just put this over here for a second. If Bryce Underwood has this incredible day, of course, everyone's like, oh, guys, and they're great, and it'd be, but we'd all have to say, well, you're going to have to carry over. Remember that's JJ, he wasn't 25 for 25, but he was something like 13 of 13. In his first game out there in the national championship season, he didn't have 6 touchdowns, but it's great to, have a player like this making his debut, because it makes you think of some things like this. I would just, would I take all of this, or would I take the clean under center exchanges, no fumbles, no delays, no burn timeouts, have a 1, 6 dozen of the other. John's pretty fired up about what he thinks how it's going to play out. Josiah is looking for balance on offense, no turnovers, and the defense forces some turnovers. So I'm with you on the defense, forcing some turnovers. I don't especially care about what the balance is going to look like on offense against New Mexico. I think whatever they want, we could dial up whatever we wanted. If we wanted a 50-50 split right now, it could happen. So the no turnover part, sure. It's not like I'm like, I want to see it. I don't want to see a turnover. So out of all of that, Josiah, I would pick out, of course, I'm with you on the turnovers. That's one of mine, but or the forcing turnovers, sorry. But no turnovers, yeah. I don't want any. I could never see a situation where I'm like, I want turnovers, from Michigan. Derek is. I thought John was getting a little bit crazy, but Derek apparently is getting a little crazy when it comes down to making the predictions. Rico says he just doesn't want to look like whiskey last night, and I'll be good. Yeah, there's reminders. You can look a little sluggish, and even Michigan when they won the Natty, it's a good reminder that against Bowling Green, they were out there, and it was 14-6 at the half. JJ in that game had 3 interceptions. This is the championship season of 2023. Now, JJ was perfect. He had 15 straight completions in the opener. After the first 2 games, he had an 87% completion percentage. I mean, you're talking everything. This guy's the greatest ever. Then he threw 3 picks. And then Michigan was only up 14-6 at the half against Bowling Green. It's like, whoa. So, but yeah, we all know how they rebounded from that. So I'm with you. Was the Notre Dame game with Remy Hamilton's game winner a season opener, John? It was, in fact, yes, it was. That was, what would that be, 94? If you look up at the top of my screen, I'm going to take my camera and move it a little bit. I guess I can do that. That picture right above my head is the game winner from Remy Hamilton. Let's see what it says. The kick. 1994. September the 10th. Michigan 26. Notre Dame 24. There are a few Michigan victories over Notre Dame. That's one of those, sometimes you remember exactly where you're at. I remember exactly where I was at. I'd like to say that I was at the game. I was not. I was watching. My friend was working at a card shop, and we watched the game with him at the card shop. Not the greatest story, I'll give you that. We're just sitting around. I'd like to have had a better one for you, but I don't. All right, good stuff. Let's move on to the season. And for the season, the things that I want for the season, if there was a genie, because I'm going to say the playoffs. Playoffs. Yeah, I'm talking playoffs. I think it's doable for Michigan, although I'm not going to predict that they make it, but I would want, if I had a wish, I would like for them to make the playoffs. Now, if I had a real wish, I would wish for a natty, because, why? Anything else, that would be the wish. But, not that it could never happen. It'd be incredible. But I think an achievable wish, I am picking for Michigan. I would like for them to make the playoffs. It would be awesome. That would be, I would say, a 10-2 season. Now, maybe they would go 11-1. I don't think they're going to go undefeated, but hey, I would think that would be 10-2 in the range of outcomes. That could really happen. Now, I'm not sitting here acting like Michigan has no chance. They have a chance. Absolutely. At 10-2. And so I would love for them to make the playoffs. That would be a season-long wish of mine. The second thing that I would say, and I'm just going to have 3 here about the season wishes. And the second one would be the validation or the promise that would come through for Underwood. I think we're all pinning our hopes on Bryce Underwood being, the greatest quarterback ever. That sounds right to me. I think everyone is hoping, and I think everyone is expecting Bryce Underwood to be the greatest quarterback ever. That's not a lot of wiggle room there. I hope that he develops, whatever happens this season, I hope that we see it from Underwood. And, we'll see it tomorrow night, and then we'll really see it the following week. And then we're just going to see it as the weeks and the season unfolds. But I am hoping we're sitting here at the end of the year, regardless of how it goes, and saying, you know what, Michigan's got Underwood. And just think how much better he's going to be next year for whatever happens this year. Just think about next year. All of the experience and the snaps and you go through everything. So the promise of Underwood, that would be one of the things season long that I'm hoping for. And it's just, I say just three things: playoffs, the promise of Underwood, and then the third thing would be, and a lot of it's probably tied to Underwood, just an ascending program. Whatever the record would be, they get to the end and you say, this program is healthy. They're doing great. However you look at it, the future's bright. They're an ascending program. Maybe that's the definition of ascending program. Somebody said, what's your definition of ascending program? Where the future looks extremely bright. Where after this year, the conversation immediately starts is Michigan should be one of the favorites next year in college football. You know how you say the way too early top 25? I'm saying it before the opener kicks off tomorrow. I'm hoping that this year, at the end of the year, that Michigan is one of the top 5 teams in the country next year. And that means Bryce Underwood has fulfilled the promise in his freshman year, and it looks like that he is that superstar college quarterback. And that, you know, Michigan probably, with those things being said, was knocking on the door and maybe knock down that door this season to get into the postseason in Underwood's freshman year, which, you know, is incredible, but it's, again, it can happen. I'm not sitting over here, and I'll give you my season prediction. I do have 3 losses. It's not even worry. It's just looking at the team, the offensive line, the receivers, and the quarterback. I just think that there'll be 3 bumps in the road there, and I will handle if I get to the end, whether that's going to be something that's going to be an acceptable season, if that's something that makes this program ascending, if there's better days ahead, if Underwood shows the promise. You know, there's no reason for me to say, well, if this and that happens, we got to let it play out. But, you know, so we make our predictions anyways. A caveat, I hope that I'm sitting here next week after the Oklahoma game saying, well, I don't know about my prediction. I predict, you know, so, you know, it could happen as early as next week that I'm over here saying, I don't know, but about my predictions. So predictions are funny. You know, you make them and then, you know, the season starts and everything starts moving around and everything gets thrown out of the window. But, you know, that's where I am at right now. So again, recapping for the season and my hopes: playoffs, the promise of Bryce Underwood, and that this team is an ascending club, an ascending program. I don't know why I'm making my 3s so funny today, but that's it. Those are the 3 things. Go back if you're just joining us and you want to see what the 3 things that I'm looking for from the opener, all achievable. And yeah, you could say you're not a win. You always start with a win. But yeah, the 3 things for the opener, and then the 3 things for the season, and a prediction. So I'll give you a prediction on tomorrow's game. Let's look to see what the people are saying. It's always great to hear from the people. And Rashad is getting in, and he is talking about Michigan playing Notre Dame. That was the last time we played Notre Dame until 97. That loss had to sit for 2 years. People nodding their head, you know, thinking, you know, 9-3, but you know, 9-3 is a little bit where it's not, admittedly, it's not super fun. It's a lot more fun to pick a 10-2, because 10-2, if you told me that Michigan was going to be 10-2, I'm telling you that they're going to make the playoffs, and so it's going to be a successful year. If Michigan goes 10-2, Underwood probably has been fantastic. If Michigan goes 10-2, the defense has probably been fantastic. If Michigan goes 10-2, it's been an incredible year. So, and then then you get 9-3. It's kind of like, well, yeah, maybe they can, and all these different qualifiers and everything else. So, it's a lot more fun to pick double-digit wins. John says, no quarterback last year, plus Wink has figured out the college defense. There's no stopping Michigan. Wink figuring out college defense, I agree with you. And I think the defense, I'm not sitting around thinking, oh, the rush defense or, the pat. No, I think the defense is going to be good. Yeah, they didn't have a quarterback last year. The one part that I'm not sure, I do hear a lot of people saying this, and there's some truth to it. But also, when people say, if Michigan had a quarterback, they probably would have only lost one game last year, or they would have lost 2 games. And I say, I mean, you don't know how those things would have gone. If Michigan had a quarterback against USC, were they, running, from their own 20, with time running down, or are they just turning around and handing it to Khalil Mullings, who, ends up busting off a 63-yarder? I would say no, they're probably throwing the ball, but, so are they beating USC? So, if they had a quarterback, and that's the game that we play. So I don't agree. I hear people say it all the time. Oh, Washington, they would have, I don't know. You watched that Washington game, the defense, which was really good last year. Michigan's defense, they gave up 27 points. So, oh yeah, but they wouldn't have, Tuttle fumbled. I know, you're right. So if you had a decent quarterback that didn't fumble and he was going to score more than 27, I don't know. It's the same thing at Illinois. Interception, fumble by the quarterback. Maybe they would have been able to. Donovan Edwards fumbled in that game. Maybe they would have done it. It's just a little as an aside. When I hear people say that, and maybe you're one of them, it would have been a better year. I'll give you that. Maybe they would have won one of those, but they were good in close games. I don't know. They won Ohio State. It was great. How would they have beat Indiana? They only lost that game by 5. What was the score against Michigan State? They beat them pretty good. Ended up being a little bit closer than I thought. And the 3-point, beat Minnesota. Won some close games without a quarterback. I don't think you just can immediately say, oh, yeah, they'd have won those for sure, and then won the other ones. Let's get a few other ones over here. Derek is saying playoffs. JS is talking Portnoy. He placed 5,000 on Underwood winning the Heisman. I like it. Yeah, when it comes to gambling, Portnoy's a fun person to follow. I saw him. What was he betting? 10K. I don't know if 10,000. I don't know if that was somebody that was working on a staff or some. Making. It's fun to watch. It's fun content. And I don't know, when you get 100, 200 million, I don't know how much. Is that like me putting a nickel on Underwood to win the Heisman? I don't know. It's 5K is 5K. I hope he wins. Let's see. RW pointing out facts from the history books. And he says Michigan hasn't won a regular season road game out west since 89. Time to break that streak. Here. Sam watched the Big Ten camp review, and he's super excited. We make the playoffs. I'm there. Cut from a different cloth. Saying I'm reasonable. Reasonable is not much fun in sports. I'm going to give you that. Being, cut from a different cloth, being reasonable, objective. People want hot. there was a time, and I don't know, maybe I did this for a year or two with the Lions, because I would make reasonable predictions, were thought through, and then would make it. And then I thought, why not just start adding 2 games or subtracting 2 games to come in a little bit hotter? I really thought the team was going to win 9. Why don't you say 11? If I did that with Michigan, and if I was sitting over here and saying, I think they're going to go 11-1, that would be more. I would get much more engagement. And if on the other side, could you imagine if I was sitting over here 7-5, everybody? I don't believe that. The thing is, I don't believe either of those 2 things. I believe a 10-2, 9-3, but the history and everything that I am looking at, and I'm just really trying to be honest, that's what I come up with. All things being considered, freshman quarterback. Cut from is asking about the left tackle. Yeah, you can work yourself. The offensive line is a question mark, but look, we're going to find out next week. And I'll tell you, I don't know. If the edge rusher is going around Link, sure. People will then, if he's getting beat, if he's a turnstile or something like that, yeah, there's going to be a lot of people that are down on Michigan's chances of beating Oklahoma. But if they have a solid game and then they go down and pound, just in the rounds, pound, just even win the game, and say, oh, the line. And I'll be one of those guys. Give credit where credit's due. Derek doesn't see any more than 2 losses. Rico is saying, another year, another season where I get to jump the gun and become irrationally pessimistic with every bad half. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that happens. I mean, you try to. That's the thing. I would say that I'm overly optimistic person in life, but when it comes to sports, I try to take. It's hard to do. It's very hard to do, and I'm not, sitting over here telling you I'm some scientist or journalist. That's like, I am just taking everything and letting no emotion. I mean, you have emotion in there. It's very difficult to do. That's what we all know and what we have all seen when it comes down to it. So the game tomorrow is going to be a great day. Noon. Great game. I'm picking Texas in that game. Texas was able to go on the road and beat Michigan last year. Michigan was able to go on the road and beat Ohio State. Does that matter? I would think that would mean if I was a Texas player or Texas coaching staff saying, hey, we can handle the horseshoe. See if Arch Manning is able to handle the horseshoe. It's tough coming up with. I have to admit that I have gone 0 for 2 in my first 2 bets of the college football season. However, a reprieve for me automatically because both of those bets were no sweat bets. So the first no sweat, I lost. It was Kansas State. And I came back immediately, said I'm betting Texas because I got the money back, but you got to play it. So I went right back and I bet Texas on the money line. And then last night I bet Nebraska -6. I know. And I lost. But I got that back and now I have thrown that at. I'm just hitting the favorites. The experienced gamblers would be like, you're just like every other sucker betting the big names and the big games and the big spreads against, the top 25 games. And I'd say I'm guilty of that. I've just jumped right in and played it. I'm playing Clemson -3.5. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. Corey wants a shutout. JD. Bryce season. John is thinking 38-3. Punishing. Sam is saying that Texas has a better quarterback situation. Well, if you look at recruiting, I don't know if Arch was number one. Sand was up there, though. Not like Arch. Arch is just was able to just sit there for 2 years. He played a little bit. And Sand was able to sit there for 1 year. Underwood has been able to do none of that. He was in high school and he was like, peace out, high school. I'm going to start for Michigan. And he went into spring. And I think we all, right after, I don't know if it was the first day or second day when you heard that Keene wasn't practicing, or this is Underwood's team. I mean, we've known this for a long time. Why don't I get my prediction out there as I've thought through it for the game tomorrow against New Mexico? MGM 34.5. Whoo! I will lay the points. I think Michigan's going to win this game 49-13. So what is that? 36. I have Michigan winning this game by 36 points. And when I put those 13, like I don't like doing that. I'd rather just say 49-0, but I could see a field goal early. And then I could also see that Michigan's going to want to get a lot of their depth in there and young guys and give them a taste and everything else in the fourth quarter. You know, I can see a play or two from New Mexico who's trying, might be able to score a touchdown in there. So there you go. Touchdown, but a cover for whatever that means to you folks out here that are watching this or listening to this show. Corey's wife told him to calm down. Hey, I'm not telling you to calm down, Corey, but bottle it up. Don't, you can't get too jacked up the day before. That's the one thing about a night game. I love night games and everything else, but, you can't get too – it's not like I'll be up early tomorrow. Even when I kind of like getting up early now, but when I was younger, I did not like getting up early. And when it would be a college football Saturday when Michigan was playing, I'd be up at 6 o'clock. Let's go. I'm up every other time. I'm not up. Now I am, but back in the day, I'm up. New Mexico gets nothing, Corey says. Couple more. Rico says he's wondering what the logic is for Sharon. Does he leave Bruce, I get it, in much longer than necessary to get more experience? It's a very good question. And I think that the experience of playing at least 3 quarters, I want that to happen. Well, if it's 35-0 after 3, you say, clear the benches. Let's get everybody else in there. That's what the fans will be saying. Mr. Brightside will be going. I'd put Underwood back out for another series. He's just handing it off. Let's get the other guys some experience. I get it. But I'll state it again. Coaches almost always go another series or even 2. Then when the fans are like, let's go, get the hook. Let's do it. But I think in this situation, you want to get Bryce, the time out there. If they were playing, New Mexico State next week, maybe you just want Bryce to play the half, if they're up 35-0. Cut from a different cloth says that hurt shoulder you talked about yesterday as it concerns Keene could really be true. I hurt my left shoulder lifting weights, and it took 6 months to completely heal. I don't know how old you are, Cut from, but I recall the pandemic. And I'm home and I'm doing my workouts outside. I'm lifting weights outside and I'm doing push-ups on the sidewalk. And I was just down in the push-up position or something, and I reached over for my phone, and I don't know, I didn't feel something. It was a big time pain. Well, the problem was it hurt so much. Certainly couldn't do push-ups anymore. But then I'm like, okay, well, I should have gone to the doctor immediately. But the pandemic, you were really going to the doctor. So it was just a month. What was my attack of plan? It ended up being, let's have 3-4 Coors Lights and, hopefully it gets better the next day. It wasn't a great plan. Still hurt after a month, still hurt after 2 months. And then I would get back and I would be like, oh, I just thought it was done. No more weightlifting. It was over. After 6 months, I got some weights out, it's just not going to happen. Probably should have gone to the doctor at that point. 2 years went by. 2 years, and I helped my brother-in-law out doing, he pours cement foundations. It's the hardest work. I know a lot of people, there's a lot of hard jobs out there. And especially, police and military, those are put in a different category because your life's on the line. But I'm talking just about work. And so I'm like, oh, I can carry around. I'm helping these guys out. I lasted 3 days. But the funny thing about it is that I'm doing all this, hard work, carrying these steel beams and all this. I was worn out when I got home, but I was like, hey, my shoulder feels a lot better. I got that. I guess, sometimes the motion lotion got it going. There was no surgery. I'm doing that. I kind of feel like it hurts right now. Let's just not think about it. Whew. Right. Sam, it's the semi-pros nowadays. We win or lose with our quarterback. Well, I mean, it's true that it's semi-pros nowadays, and most teams do win or lose with a quarterback, but this is Michigan. And Sam, you've paid attention over the last 4 years. Michigan has won mostly with their running game. Yeah, you need a quarterback, but it's ground and pound with a little, throw the ball in there. So most teams, but not Michigan. That's why, if you can just have I think Michigan can get to the playoffs with a serviceable Bryce Underwood. That's how I see it this particular season. Whew. All right. I want to give you guys a couple things here. One, if you have TikTok, check it out. Follow me. I'm going to try to do something. I'm going to do some kind of, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to have some attempting to go to the game. I'm not sure I'll be able to do a live at the game, but I'm going to do a little pregame video. I'm going to do something at the half, and then I'm going to do something post-game. And so check that all out if you have TikTok, and we'll see how that goes. That's the plan as I sit here right now. I always like getting this one in right now from Ferris. Thanks so much, Ferris. We are now closing in on 2,100 days since Ohio State beat Michigan. Only one more. Ferris says 0 in my case since I'm sky high with energy. That's happening. Ride or die. All right. That's going to do it. Okay. Yeah, it is here. I'm sky high too. I mean, I'm ready to just, run around, go crazy. And let's do it. It's fun. That's it. My prediction for tomorrow is 49-13. I have Michigan covering the spread. I think they will win it by 36. I want one reason to, I want to see one thing from Semaj as a reminder of why I've backed him. That's it. Along with the things I said about Underwood and the defense and for the season. I am going to tell everyone that the co-host of this show for the last couple of years, Jerry D'Ario, the coach, the former Wolverine, that I am sending all of the positivity to Jerry and his family that I can on this Friday. Jerry has been here for the last couple of years. You have been able to get to know him. He is a great family man. He is a great Michigan man. He's a great friend to have for all. And so giving those positive vibes out to number 64. And as Jerry would close out the pod, as he always does, he would say, "Hail to the victors." Jerry, hail to the victors. And everybody enjoy the game tomorrow. Bye-bye.